this. I said that reading this, and I also said that watching this. There are so many things that only white women can get away with. Like, if a black woman did it, it would be so different. This one Valerian, like, manipulates the hell out of her and gaslights the hell out of her. Like, things are good and they can continue being great if they just keep being loyal to this white man. Kind of like the same thing that Jadine thinks. Like, there's so many lines in here where Toni Morrison just, like, eats every character up to the bone, like eats them down, chews out the marrow. And so she believes that, like, her whole life was curated by this white man, and had it not been for this white man, her life wouldn't be as great as it is. And that she, like, goes so hard for him, and Sen is just like, you owe him nothing. New York, which is like her heartbeat, or like move to Paris, France, and like be the model that she like is, and like marry the white man that she's like destined to marry. Hey chat. So I don't know when the last time I updated this camera was, but today is Saturday, June 7th, and it is now 1:35 p.m. and I'm about to read the last couple of chapters, or annotate the last couple of chapters of Tar Baby, and then give you my final updates, because this Tar Baby vlog is like way too long, like overdue. On top of that, I am finally getting my life together, partially due to me using or turning my grief and my anger into something productive. Thank you, Audre Lorde. But that is the plan for today. Not only do I need to finish this book and update you all, but I also need to write a review for my friend's movie that just came out. I have a friend who wrote, directed, and produced this movie here, Coney Island Sisters. It is now out on Prime, Amazon Prime, if you want to go and watch it. I watched it yesterday, and so I want to write a review for him because it was really, really good. It's a classic modern, like, indie film about like these two cousins from Coney Island who get together one night after not seeing each other for a while, and one of them really wants to spend time with the other, and then the other one is kind of a party animal, so they obviously get to partying, and then chaos ensues. I'm going to write the review on this after I finish reading the rest of Tar Baby, and I'm giving myself 20 minutes to do, or yeah, I have, I guess, 23 minutes to do that because I want to update you at 2 p.m. Hopefully I'll be done by then. I'm gonna listen to the audiobook or play the audiobook as I'm reading, and there's not that much left, so there's that. I want to give you my final thoughts on Tar Baby, and then put it back on my shelf where it belongs. And then after that, I want to pick up Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, because this book, I watched the movie a few weeks ago, and it was like extremely freaking beautiful, and it just touched me. So I want to read the book and see if it'll touch me equally, or at least see how the book compares to the movie, which I don't remember, but I think came out in the 70s or the 80s, but I could be totally wrong. Don't quote me on that. I found it on YouTube. It just popped up on my feed because I have been watching tons of classic movies, or I don't know if they're classics, but they're movies from like the 20s through like the 90s. So that's what I've been up to. And I've been up to that because I said I was processing my life and getting it together as of like yesterday and today due to grief. And that's because, if you don't know, my puppy died. Now I'm raising money to get her cremated so I can have her back with me. But that's the update. That's what's happening. That's where I've been, and my camera battery is blinking that it's going to die, so I'm gonna get up and charge it and then update you at 2.
Lickety split, lickety split, looking neither to the left nor to the right. Lickety split, lickety split, lickety 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 split. This concludes the reading of Tar Baby by Toni Morrison. Copyright 1981 by Toni Morrison. This full-length reading was published by arrangement with Random House Audio Publishing Group, a division of Random House Incorporated. It was produced in 2003 by Books on Tape Incorporated, which holds the copyright thereto. This book was read by Desiree Coleman.
So, I just finished annotating my copy of Tar Baby, but I have been reading Tar Baby by Toni Morrison, or I read Tar Baby by Toni Morrison about a month ago, and I've been annotating it for a while. It took me a little while because my life was in pieces, but I'm putting it back together. But what I would give this book, out of all the Toni Morrison books that I've read, it was the one book where nothing sexually traumatizing happens. There's definitely a lot of mental trauma and like family drama that goes on here, and we're definitely talking about whiteness and how it affects blackness in society, like always. But like there was no one being like raped, although someone did think they were going to get raped. But we're following a lot of characters. There's Jadine and their son, and Jadine is the niece of Sydney and Ondine, and they work for Valerian Street. He is a white man that owns this big beautiful house on this island, and there are obviously like locals, and then there are like all the large houses with like the white people living in them, and then like the local people that like work for them, and also like the local people that have like their shops on the island because they are indigenous to the place. But there's Valerian, there's also his wife Margaret. They have a child named Michael who we never meet, but we learn about him through all of the other characters. There's Therese, or I think that's how her name is pronounced. And she used to work for Valerian and Margaret, but she got caught stealing apples with Gideon, and so they fired her. Gideon is a character who was a local from this island, and then went to America and got his citizenship by marrying a woman, but like hated that marriage and then left. But he didn't leave because of the marriage. He kind of left because Therese manipulated him into coming back. So now him and Therese are kind of like bound together. There's also Alma, and kind of Therese and Alma both have a crush on Sun, but Sun is like obsessed with Jadine. And Therese, Alma, and Gideon are all people that worked for, or probably still do work for, Valerian. I don't think any of them do at this point. They're kind of just like hanging around the house and helping Sun. And Sun is the man who was lurking around in the streets home for days because he was jumped off of a ship and was running away from some sort of criminal thing, or I'm not really clear personally on what it is that he was running away from, but I know he did something that was illegal. Probably shouldn't call it a criminal thing, because it's probably a criminal thing based off of like white societal standards. But he ends up lurking in their house, and Margaret, the white woman, finds him in her closet and thinks that he's gonna rape her, but he's not there for her. He's there because Janine, the yellow girl, who is just like a light-skinned black girl, who is the niece of, again, Sydney and Ondine, and they are taking care of her because her parents died and she just happened to be an orphan. So because Sydney and Ondine have been working for Valerian their whole lives, Valerian turns out sponsoring Jadine's life and putting her through school, and so she believes that like her whole life was curated by this white man, and had it not been for this white man, her life wouldn't be as great as it is, and that she like goes so hard for him. And Sun is just like, you owe him nothing, like what the and so we bounce back and forth between like Jadine's perspectives on life and Sun's perspective on life. Sun is from a small town in northern Florida, and they do end up going to his hometown, and she ends up meeting his family, and she hates it. She hates it there. She hates the smallness of it. She believes that these people are like dumb, and she's just like she's too high strung. She's too educated. She's better than them. And so I guess she may or may not end up feeling that way about Sun. I don't want to spoil too much. But they have their banter, they have their relationship, and she is just jumping back and forth between deciding whether or not she should be with Sun or like live on the island with her aunt and uncle, which she definitely does not want to do, or live in New York, which is like her heartbeat, or like move to Paris, France, and like be the model that she like is, and like marry the white man that she's like destined to marry. And there's like this one line in here where they're arguing, and Sun tells her like, if you want to go have a white man's baby, go ahead and have a white man's baby, like nobody's gonna stop you. There's like, do what you were destined to do as a black woman, as a mammy, because all you ever do is take care of white people's babies. The only difference is now this white man's baby is going to be in your womb, so it's yours, and it makes it even more like true. And like there's so many lines in here where Toni Morrison just like eats every character up to the bone, like eats them down, chews out the marrow. And yeah, she did great. She did really, really good. I like this one because it was a really, really, really lovely character exploration. I loved all of the conversations. I liked all of the themes. I wrote down a few of them in the beginning because at first I was keeping track, but there are some themes here on like state and society or place, hierarchy, status, performances of like such things, and like performance of life in general, ownership, autonomy, loyalty, because like Sydney and Ondine, like there's this like huge big moment. There's like a Christmas dinner scene where like Margaret and Valerian are expecting their son Michael to come home for Christmas, but Valerian knows that shit's not happening because like Michael never comes home, and Margaret is like out of her mind because one, Valerian like manipulates the hell out of her and gaslights the hell out of her, but two, like we learn why she's like such a fucked up character during this scene, but also a little bit before, because like Ondine drops little like little hints or like little pins, but like she abused out of her child, and like he like hates it there, and like he does not want to come back to the island because like he had trauma. And that's fair. That is so fair. We're gonna learn about the ways in which she abuses her child when you read the Christmas dinner scene. It's really up. Like only white women can just like get away with things like this. I said that reading this, and I also said that watching this. There are so many things that only white women can get away with. Like if a black woman did it, it would be so different. Great character study, incredible book, Toni, like amazing metaphors. There are so many beautiful passages in here that I could read to you, and I'm just going to choose one. She goes, at some point in like, wait, before I read this, I feel like my brain is moving at a mile a minute. I was talking about themes before, and then I jumped off. Okay, yes, I said ownership, autonomy, and loyalty. And then Jadine, not only is she like the niece of like Ondine and Sydney, and like the like Valerian the benefactor's who's the person that receives the money from the benefactor? The benefactee? I don't know what that word is. But she's also their social secretary. So like I don't know what a social secretary would have done at the time, but like whenever they have dinner parties, she kind of just like stirs up the conversation and keeps them like in the loop with everyone. But I find it so interesting that they chose a light-skinned black woman to do that. Sydney and Ondine also like pose this idea that they're like better than the average Negro, and I don't know if it's because they work for this white man, but like Sydney's constantly referring to himself as like a genuine Philadelphia Negro, and like I'm not really sure what kind of trope that is, because I didn't look into the history of that specific term, but they do have this idea that they're better than other black people, and that if they just work hard and stay loyal to Valerian, like their lives will not change, and like things can only like be great, like things are good and they can continue being great if they just keep being loyal to this white man. Kind of like the same thing that Jadine thinks. Generally in this book, I think the overarching thing is that like everybody has their own place in society, and they all have their own ideas about like one another. that is central until the climax happens, and then everyone's ego starts to break and they all start learning about themselves. Although there are a few characters that I feel like egos don't need to break, slash egos broke a little bit early, slash egos never broke at all. But that being said, again, 10 out of 10, Toni Morrison. Again, I believe I'll give anything that she writes a 10 out of 10, because it's always so beautiful and it's so genius, and like it's always a lovely exploration of like race and society and how race affects society, like then and now. Like it is always relevant. And like Toni, like her words just like do things for me. Like there's a scene in here where like Ondine and Jadine are like arguing after something happens, and like I literally start crying because like there's something that Ondine says to Jadine that is just like, they're not really arguing. Ondine is trying to get her point across and explain to Jadine that like she's not expecting anything from her. Like she doesn't want her to pay her back in life. Like she just wants what she wants for her, which is like for her to love herself and like never forget that she's the greatest love of her life. And like I literally started crying. Like I'm not gonna read that scene to you, but like you'll find it when you read this book. And she goes, at some point in life, the world's beauty becomes enough. You don't need to photograph, paint, or even remember it. It is enough. No record of it needs to be kept, and you don't need someone to share it with or tell it to. When that happens, that letting go, you let go because you can. The world will always be there. While you sleep, it'll be there. When you wake, it will be there as well. So you can sleep, and there is a reason to wake. A dead hydrangea is as intricate and lovely as one in bloom. Bleak sky is as seductive as sunshine. Miniature orange trees without blossom or fruit are not defective. They are just that. So the windows of the greenhouse can be opened and the weather let in. The latch on the door can be left unhooked, the muslin removed, for the soldier ants are beautiful too, and whatever they do will be a part of it. I don't know if that particular passage just resonated with me deeply because I specifically am learning how to let go of something right now, like grieving the loss of my dog, and like learning how to let go of like her, although I'm not really learning how to let go because I'm trying to get her ashes. But that was that, and thank you for listening to me talk about Tarbaby. If you want to hear me take 6 years, I'm kidding, that's not gonna happen again. I'm getting my life together. But if you want to hear me talk about Their Eyes Were Watching God by this beauty queen back here, then subscribe to my channel. Right now it is, my phone's dead, 4:44 p.m. and I was supposed to finish reading at 2. It took me literally more than 20 minutes. It took me 2 hours to finish the last. To be fair, I was on page 230 and I read to page 306. So I read 76 pages in 2 hours. I don't think that that's too bad, but I feel like I should do better and finish this much of a book in less than 2 hours. But we're getting there, and honestly, if I wasn't listening to the audiobook, I think I would have gotten through faster because I was listening to the audiobook at 1.2 speed, and my brain was like going faster than the paper, but then when I increased it to 1.5, it was like perfect. So that was my fault. And thank you again, Toni, for this wonderful masterpiece. It didn't change my life like The Blue Sky did, but I did appreciate it, and I'm happy to continue going through all of her works. So, Des Tarbaby. Side note, it is 4:46, and I should be going for a run at 5 p.m., but I need to decide what I'm gonna have for dinner first, or prep dinner or something. But I'm so sleepy and I don't want to go for a run, but that's exactly when you should go for that run. I'm just here to say that I'm back from that run. It was 10 minutes with a 5-minute cool down, and I did 1.19 miles. And I'm sweating. So, there's your proof. I did it. I'm about to take a shower and then eat dinner. I'm so tired. Good morning. It is June 8th. I'm about to leave for work. I did not eat breakfast today. I did not stretch today. In fact, I slept in 2 hours past my alarm, or maybe like an hour and a half past my alarm. I did floss though, and I made myself a coffee and prepared my breakfast to eat at work, and prepped some, or brought some cinnamon rolls for my friends to have too. And then for breakfast, I'm just gonna have a taco bowl. I just put some extra beef on top of it. It was my leftovers from last night's dinner that I didn't finish after my run. And then I brought a cup of strawberry banana yogurt because the beef mixture, the black bean beef mixture, is kind of super spicy because I used 1 whole habanero pepper. And so I'd like to have something creamy afterwards to tone down the spiciness. Okay, I need to go now because I'm feeling like I have to poop. And I don't know if I want to do that again before work. So.